Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a really powerful devotional focus based on Psalm 41. It's called the Heart of Compassion. Now, this presents a pretty striking concept, the idea that how we treat other people doesn't just impact them, but it actually matters deeply to God. We're going to break down exactly what active compassion looks like and how it serves as a crucial anchor for us. Right out of the gate, the source material hits us with this foundational premise. How you treat others absolutely matters. It is so incredibly easy in our fast-paced lives to get completely wrapped up in our own schedules, our own needs, and our own worries. But this text, it challenges us to look completely beyond ourselves. It makes the case that paying attention to the vulnerable or the sick isn't just about, being a quote-unquote good person. It actually reflects the very heart of God himself. It's a total perspective shift. Okay, let's dive into this. Looking at the outward reflection, which is all about active compassion. And that brings us to this key verse from King David. He writes, "Blessed are those who have regard for the weak. The Lord delivers them in times of trouble." Notice the direct connection he's making here. David inextricably links the act of caring for the weak with experiencing divine deliverance. It's framed as a direct cause and effect relationship. Basically, you care for those who are struggling, and in your own times of trouble, you aren't left abandoned. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it breaks down the definition of having regard. What does that actually mean? Well, it's so much more than just a fleeting feeling of pity while you, say, quickly scroll past a sad story on your phone. It means to notice, to care about, and crucially, to take action. True compassion is a verb, right? It means we aren't just feeling bad for someone from a safe distance. We're making the active choice to step in and actually help. And here's the profound pattern the text identifies as a result of that action. God remains actively involved. The idea is that when you make the intentional choice to care for people who cannot possibly repay you, God sees those moments. Yep, even the really small ones that literally nobody else notices. In response to you reflecting his own heart, God actively protects, sustains, and delivers you in your own difficult times. So in a way, compassion actually invites God's active, ongoing involvement right into the course of your own life. So how do we actually pull this off day to day? The source outlines 3 really practical steps for living out active compassion. First, simply pay attention to people who might be struggling. Honestly, just opening our eyes to the reality of the people around us is step 1. Second, offer help in simple, practical ways. It definitely doesn't have to be some massive, grand gesture. And third, choose kindness even when it's completely inconvenient. Because let's be real, true compassion almost always interrupts our perfectly planned schedules. It always seems to happen right when we're running late or finally sitting down to relax, doesn't it? We kind of have to lean into that inconvenience. Let's move to and see how this builds into our next section, the inward anchor, specifically focusing on handling betrayal. The devotional sets up this really brilliant contrast between our natural human reactions and God's way. The natural tit-for-tat reaction is treating people based entirely on how they treat you, right? If they're nice, you're nice. If they hurt you, you hurt them right back. But letting fickle people dictate your actions, that leaves your heart totally unstable, just tossing and turning with every changing relationship. Instead, the higher calling here is staying steady, kind, and grounded based entirely on who God is. David actually models this in the text by trusting God even when he's betrayed by close friends, just flat out refusing to return harm for harm. So the crucial point is summarized perfectly in this quote right here. Spiritual maturity grows, choosing God's character over emotional reaction. True spiritual maturity doesn't mean you somehow miraculously stop feeling hurt. That's just not realistic. It means you stop letting that hurt control your response. It's making that conscious, deliberate choice to anchor yourself in God's unchanging nature instead of instantly reacting to someone else's bad behavior. And here is a roadmap for how we stay anchored against that kind of betrayal. Step 1, pause. Just take a breath. That split-second gap before reacting, that can literally save you from a response you'll deeply regret later. Step 2, in that pause, ask yourself, what would God want me to do here? This forces you to shift the focus away from your own immediate pain and back onto God's character. And finally, step 3, choose kindness even when it is absolutely not returned. Look, this is incredibly hard to do, for sure. But the text presents it as the ultimate way to maintain a steady, grounded heart when you're facing real relational pain. Which brings us to our final section, reflection and practice. It's time to make it personal. The source material shares this beautiful guiding prayer that really stands out. It says, "Mold me to be a reflection of who you are." I think this just perfectly encapsulates the ultimate goal here. It's this really humble request to stop reacting in anger or self-interest the second we get hurt, and instead ask to be shaped into a clear, accurate reflection of God's own compassionate heart. And this brilliantly illustrates the core takeaway of everything we've talked about today. Compassion reflects God's heart. It really all distills down to that one simple, powerful truth. Our daily, everyday compassion is permanently linked to the eternal character of God. So when you look out for the weak, when you offer some practical help, or when you just pause before retaliating against a betrayal, you are acting as a mirror. You're reflecting that divine character right back out into the world around you. To truly grasp this and put it into practice, we need to ask ourselves a pretty vital question. Who in your life needs compassion from you right now? I'd encourage you to really look closely at your own immediate surroundings. Think about your workplace, your family, your community. Who around you is weak, sick, or struggling? Who genuinely needs your active care and practical help today? Remember, it's not enough to just feel bad for them. How can you actually take action? And finally, we're left with this deeply provocative question to challenge the true foundation of our daily actions. Do you treat others based on how they treat you, or based on who God is? It's a question that really forces us to examine the anchor of our lives. Are we just getting tossed around by the emotional reactions of the day, or are we truly grounded in the steady, unchanging, compassionate character of God? Something to chew on. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep reflecting, and we'll see you next time.